Welcome back to the Cumbie Show, where we tell like it is and we don't care how you feel. It's just the way it is around here. On this one, we got the clean, old-fashioned hate. Georgia taking on Georgia Tech. This is rivalry week. I love this week, this time of the year. Sucks to see the regular season come to an end, but there are a lot of good games out there. This rivalry for Georgia has kind of not been what it used to be in the past because of where Georgia Tech as a program is. But nonetheless, I'm still excited. Let's jump into this game. This is probably going to be a shorter video than usual. Georgia is a 24-point favorite on the road in Atlanta at Georgia Tech Stadium there. It's a night game. I think kickoff is 7 or 7:30, which is very odd when I heard that because this is the first time in I think since 2014, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since this was not a noon game. This game is almost always kicked off at noon. Georgia gets in there, gets the game over, goes back home. But that's exciting, kind of have this a night game, see the different atmosphere that this will bring. Maybe that'll make this game seem a lot better. But I'm gonna be honest. I don't see much of a pathway for Georgia Tech here. When I do these videos, I like to go through the numbers. I look at the stats. We talk about some of the statistics, and I like to give my thoughts on a way for that I think each team can win the game, not just Georgia. I like to look at the other team and see what I think it would take for them to beat Georgia. And in this matchup, I don't really see much of that for Georgia Tech. Now, I'm not saying Georgia Tech can't win this game. Just ask Auburn about New Mexico. You'll see. But this is going to be a very difficult game for Georgia Tech, and I just don't know if they are actually able to do it. But anything can happen. That's why we play the games. But Georgia has got a couple of key injuries, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if any of these guys are going to play. Ladd McConkey didn't play last week. If he did, he played 1 or 2 snaps. He had some ankle soreness. Kirby Smart said that he was basically game time decision, felt like he wasn't really good to go, so they didn't play him. We'll see how he is this week, if he'll go. Tate Ratledge has banged knees, apparently. They did x-rays, MRIs, no structural damage, so just kind of letting that heal. And then Ra Thomas apparently has a bone bruise in his foot, which sounds painful. I highly doubt any of them will play this weekend against Georgia Tech. I have a feeling, unless absolutely needed, I have a feeling that they're going to let them rest and get ready for that SEC championship game against Alabama. So I don't think we'll see Ladd McConkey, Tate Ratledge, or Ra Thomas this game. If we do, then that's great because that means they're healthy and they're ready to rock and roll. I would love for them to be healthy, but in my opinion, I don't think we're going to see them. And I think Georgia is mostly just wanting to get in this game. They don't care how much they win by. Get out of this game without any injuries and pack it up and start getting ready for the SEC championship game. So let's kind of just jump straight into the keys to the game for this one. For Georgia, I think I'm going to keep it simple. Do your thing. Do Georgia. Play the way you've been playing the last couple of weeks. Be limited on turnovers and penalties, and then just stay poised. And you should win this game. For Georgia Tech, it's going to be a lot more difficult for Georgia Tech. Haynes King has sitting at 62 completion percentage. He's got 15 interceptions. 15. That is a shit ton of interceptions. And this Georgia defense loves to get interceptions. They're sitting at 12 interceptions on the season, which, funny enough, I did not expect this at all. Georgia Tech also has 12 interceptions on the season. That's actually impressive for you, Georgia Tech. That's actually pretty good. But for Georgia Tech, you're going to have to win in the later rounds, in the later quarters. You're going to have to keep this a low-scoring, hard-fighting game somehow because I don't think you're going to be able to get in a shootout against Georgia and win. I don't think maybe besides 2 teams would be able to get in a shootout against Georgia and win. You're going to have to start off strong, score on your first drive like every team does apparently against Georgia, and you're going to have to keep this a slugfest, honestly. Low-scoring. Get it to where in the fourth quarter it's a 1-score game and see what you can do. And you have got to limit your turnovers. 15 interceptions on the season for Haynes King is fucking ridiculous. That's a lot. You turn this ball over. If you give more possessions to Georgia, the game's over. I mean, if Georgia comes out of this game with 2 interceptions and they score on them, I mean, that game over. So just keep it simple. I mean, really, for Georgia, you do you. Play the way you've been playing the last couple of weeks, and you should get out of this game, hopefully injury-free, against the Nerds. And for the Nerds, like I said, I think you have to find a way to make this a low-scoring game. You're going to have to play physical. You're going to have to wait to play physical against this Georgia team. You're going to have to get after Carson Beck. You're going to have to stop the run, something, and keep this a low-scoring game going into the fourth quarter, because you got to win in those later rounds against Georgia. It's good to throw the first couple of punches and put some points up on the board like a lot of teams seem to do, but that's where we see teams start to trail off. They throw a couple of haymakers in the early rounds, and then they just can't keep up, and this Georgia defense smothers that offense, and the way that this offense is playing right now, it is cooking, and teams just can't keep up. And I just don't know if Georgia Tech has the horses in the barn to keep up with this Georgia team. There's a reason why it's a 24-point. Georgia's a 24-point favorite. It is what it is. They're not on the same level, and they haven't been for a very long time. So I don't know how I feel about taking Georgia to cover when it's that many points. The way that they've been playing the last couple of weeks, it would not surprise me in any way, shape, or form. And also, Georgia Tech is just way too inconsistent this year. They'll have a really good week where they beat like a Miami, and then they'll come out and they'll just look like shit the very next week. I think they lost to Bowling Green, if I'm not mistaken. Like, way too inconsistent, way too up and down, way too many turnovers, especially interceptions. It's just not a recipe to beat Georgia. So I obviously am going to take Georgia to win, and I'm going to take them to cover. I usually don't take Georgia to cover when the spread is this much. I stay away from the line. But I will tell you this. Kirby Smart hates this team. This is a huge rivalry for him, because when Kirby Smart was playing, this rivalry meant a lot more. Georgia Tech was actually really good. They are constantly competing for conference championships, and they were consistently ranked in the top 25, top 15, top 10. So this rivalry means a lot more to Kirby Smart than it does to the younger crowd like myself and the players and things like that. I'm 27 years old, and almost all my life, Georgia Tech has not been an issue for Georgia. They will get a win here and there, but other than that, it's hasn't been an issue. But I'm taking Georgia. I'm taking Georgia to cover. I think kind of like what we saw last week and the week before is what we'll see here. You might see a couple of offensive drives, momentum for this Georgia Tech earlier in the game. First drive, second drive, throughout the first quarter. But I think after that, this Georgia defense starts to slow them down, starts to smother them. And at that point, I don't think Georgia Tech has what it takes to keep up. But other than that, it's clean old-fashioned hate week. Hate the Nerds. Fuck you, Georgia Tech. Over and out. Go Dogs.